Hi guys, thanks for tuning to this episode of the Nick Egan Times. We have an awesome guest. We have Michael Jibrin. Michael's an actor and a writer known for the movie Detroit, A Prince is Not Respected in His hometown, and defending Jacob. Michael was born in Nigeria, now living in the United States, pursuing a career as an actor. The transition into the two different worlds has opened Michael to a lot that he never could have imagined growing up in Nigeria. Michael is a proud married man with 3 kids. Welcome, Michael, and thanks for joining my podcast.
Hey, thank you very much, Nick. Thank you for having me. Thank
My
you.
pleasure. My pleasure. How's it
Yeah.
all going over there?
Good. I mean, it's things are slowly getting back to normal, but yeah, it's been good.
And how have you handled, and your family, generally speaking, the pandemic since it's begun over there?
Thankfully, I only know one person that got infected with the virus, and he's doing well now. But yeah, I think everyone's pretty much both in Nigeria and America. I think my family is doing pretty good. I also feel sad, because it's tough for I've heard of people who lost family members. I know a friend who almost lost her dad, and it's crazy because you hear of one person getting the virus and they're fine, and then the other person gets it, and like in 24 hours they're like on a ventilator or something. Yeah, but it's been good. Thankful.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for that insight. All right, let's just jump straight into it for the listeners. Who is Michael Jibrin?
Michael Jibrin is a husband, a father, an actor, a podcaster, and a writer.
Good hands in all the pies.
Yeah, I do. You gotta stay busy,
Exactly, I couldn't agree more. All right, tell me about your story coming from Nigeria and where it all began for you, should I say, and how you got to where you are right now.
Oh, wow. Okay. Great question. Because for me, the journey. Honestly, I'm being blown away by everything is happening. It's because you have to understand. Growing up in Nigeria, you're exposed to what you dream about is what you can feel, see, and touch. Every other thing is just superficial fiction. They don't exist. So I'm growing up in Nigeria, and everything I want to be. I want to play basketball in Nigeria. I want to be the best actor in Nigeria. If I thought of getting married, when I thought about getting married, I was going to get married to a Nigerian. But life just has this way of surprising us, and I met my wife, who's Italian American in Nigeria. We got married, and we moved to the United States. The surprising thing, well, I won't say surprising, but I didn't plan to stay here. So initially, we had planned to come visit. So mentally, I wasn't prepared. I didn't think I was going to be an actor in America. I just been in America for a couple of weeks, and then we're going back to Nigeria. But after a couple of weeks here, we decided we're going to stay. And slowly the reality of making that big move started to hit me. The culture shock, the weather, the sense of community. There were a lot of different things, And then the question, do I still want to pursue a career as an actor? Because being an actor in Nigeria is a different ball game, in contrast to being an actor in America. So it's been good. It's been good so far. I'm used to the weather now, and I tell people, I feel like America is more home to me than Nigeria was because I built a family here. There's a stronger foundation that I have here, which I didn't have back in Nigeria. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
Yeah, no, that's great context, and yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know too much, obviously, about what life was like in Nigeria, but for the
hmm
listeners and myself, what was, just generally speaking, life like growing up and living in Nigeria when you're younger?
Oh wow! Honestly, life was beautiful. Because okay, I'll say life was beautiful in Nigeria because I had nothing to compare it to, right?
Right.
Nick, if you don't mind, I will quickly plug in my laptop. I forgot to charge it up.
Yeah, sure.
All right, just give me a minute. I apologize.
No.
I'm sorry about that.
No, that's all good. We can edit that out anyway. It's all good.
All right, good, good,
Um,
good. So yeah, so growing up in Nigeria, I had nothing to compare it to. Okay, except I lived in India for 3 years as a kid, but I was really young, so I mean, it wasn't. I wouldn't say there was anything to compare it to. But Nigeria, speaking about sense of community, I felt like I grew up with my neighbors. Like I knew all my neighbors. I knew their parents. We went to the same schools. I played outside. I climbed trees. It was fun. And family. Like I said, the sense of community was so good. And you lived with your neighbors like they were family. You know, and even though like I grew up in the '90s, '80s and '90s, where like we were ruled by the military, but it didn't. It just felt like that was life. We've been ruled by it didn't feel like, oh, we want democracy. I didn't even feel it.
yeah, okay.
So life growing up in Nigeria was fun. I really, looking back, I really enjoy it. And one thing I love about Nigeria is the ability to adapt to every situation. I kid you not. Like now, I've been in America for almost 10 years, and I understand. I feel like having 24 hours of power.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a huge luxury. Like I grew up just waking up some mornings, midnight, and the power's out. You might not get it for like a couple of days, sometimes hours. You know, so going back, to your question, Nigeria, it was beautiful growing up. And even though those, in regards to, I know like we get a lot of slack for corruption and the politicians and all that, but still, yeah, there's something beautiful about growing up in Nigeria that I'm glad that I did grow up in Nigeria.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks
Yeah,
for the context of that. It's good to know.
yeah.
Tell me about your family.
Okay. I'm from a family of four boys. My dad was in the army. I lost my dad when I was 7. I'm from northern Nigeria. And after my dad died, my mom, became a single parent, and she raised 4 boys by herself. We were all into music at some point. All my brothers are rappers. I sang. I played sports. I had dreams of playing in the NBA. And unfortunately for me, I lost my older brother, I think 6 years ago in Nigeria, but I still have 2 brothers, 2 younger brothers back in Nigeria. One of them's married with 2 kids, and the other one just graduated college. So yeah, that's I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah, that's pretty much my family. But I have like extended family. I have cousins and uncles and aunts all spread out in Nigeria, but I'm the only one in America now. Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll come over maybe one day in the future.
Someday I plan to bring my brother and his kids. My mom. I want. My mom has visited. She came like a couple years ago. But yeah, I'd love to bring them here. It's a different world here.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
Did you do much studying? And I know you just said that you had plans of being in the NBA and all that stuff, but how did, I guess, going from getting to the United States, how did the acting part come up? Like, how did that come about?
Okay. So that's a great question. So growing up in Nigeria, right, there were 5 things parents always wanted their kids to do. Join the army, be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, or what's this one more thing? It's just 5 major job, descriptions they wanted you to do. So growing up, I didn't have kids around me saying, I want to be a musician, or I want to play basketball, I want to be a soccer player. There were very few examples of people actually, like if you talk about musicians that were known like globally, or sports, soccer players. Soccer is huge in Nigeria. So I grew up just thinking, well, everything I'm doing here is just for fun in regards to music, sports. But when I grow up, I want to be a businessman. I mean, that's what I thought. But something happened in my final year of secondary school, which is high school. I fell in love with sports, and I just started to dream, man. Like I just had this huge plan for my life. I just felt like I just feel like there's something more about, there's something more to me. And I told my mom right out of high school, I was like, I want to play in the NBA. You have to understand how crazy that sounds, okay? I'm 5'11",
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and before me, there were like three Nigerians that had made it to the NBA, and those guys are like 6'10", 7'1", and 7'2". So here comes this guy who's barely 5'11", having dreams. And my mom, I think, really helped me dream because she could have said no, and that was it.
Sure.
But somehow she just, and I kid you not, it was tough because I didn't have too many kids dreaming like me. I turned down going to college in Nigeria because I wanted to play basketball. Now, let me piggyback a bit. I did theater in high school. I sang in high school. I was one of the best dancers. I played basketball, did track. But like I said, you don't want to be that, right? But somehow I want to play basketball. So in the process of trying to get scholarship to play in America, nothing panned out. So I'm at the stage of my life where my peers are graduating from university. They're buying houses. They're getting married. And I'm still that guy with a dream. So the pressure, man. And I give people this analogy, right? So my mom used to feed me like with a spoon. And then it got to the stage where she would put the plate in front of me, and then I had to feed myself. And it got to the stage where like I had to look for the food in the house, and then it was time for me to leave the house. So I had, and this is the thing about my journey in life, right? I always, at every junction in my life, I had people who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. So at this stage in my life, low self-esteem, lack of confidence. I mean, everyone's like way ahead of me, man. Like way, I'm going from like friend's house to uncle's house, And a friend of mine kept saying to me, "Hey, you have a great smile. You should model. You should do this. And to cut the long story short, she forced me to my first modeling audition. I booked that role, and even though I could act, like I told you, I didn't think I could build a career, especially in Nigeria. And after modeling, and I went to meet a family friend who I thought could help me start up as an actor. And she told me, don't do it. There's no money in this business. Why don't you look for a job? And she introduced me to someone who was in this business of selling Gillette shaving sticks. So like a grooming kit for men. And the whole description of what I was supposed to do in that job was I would have a box of Gillette shaving sticks that I would have to sell in traffic. So traffic are like junctions where cars and traffic lights are like driving around. I have to run after cars to sell them. At the end of the week, I get a commission. So I went to this guy. I'm like, hey, I want to do this job. And again, another person in my life was like, hey, there's something in you. So when I told him I want to do that job, he's like, why do you want to do this? I was like, I just want to make money. He's like, I don't think this job is for you. I feel like you're better than this. And he's like, what can you do? I said, I could act. He said, can you act? Are you sure? I'm like, yes. He took me to my first audition.
Wow.
He took me, honestly, and I'm telling you. So, like I said, at every junction in my life, there were people who watched me and could see something that I couldn't even see in myself. And I went for my first audition, and boom, I got a role. My first role was just a line, like a day player role, right? I take that line home. I'm rehearsing like in front of a mirror for hours every day. After 2 weeks, I get a call from the director. It's like, hey, can you bring that script back? We have a better role for you. And I did that. I did a TV show for 2 years, and the rest is history, man. I just kept going. And don't forget, I didn't study as an actor. I was learning on the job.
Right.
I was learning I was learning on the job. And I feel like now I know I had the talent in me, but I had to be put in a position to be able to express myself. So if I make mistakes, then I learn, then I grow, So that's how I started acting.
Yeah, I can totally get that. Like, yeah, and that's quite inspirational too. Obviously,
Yeah.
the story, man. Like from where you are to where you are now, like massively.
Oh man, 2 different worlds. I kid you not, man. I've slept outside before.
Yeah.
I've slept out there. You know, I mean, it's now I have kids. I have a home, a roof over my.
Yeah. Good for you, man. Good for you.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
Pleasure. All right. Let's go straight to the movies. You've done the
Okay.
movie Detroit.
Yeah.
A Prince is not respected in his hometown,
Yeah.
sorry, and
Yeah.
defending Jacob. Talk to me about those, and can you elaborate in the context of them?
In what context? Sorry.
Like, can you just like the context of the movies and
Oh,
all
okay. Okay.
that
So
kind of stuff? Yeah.
okay. So Detroit was based off of a true story. Something it really happened in Detroit, in the city of Detroit in 1977, where a war vet had just gotten back from Vietnam, and they had this party at a bar called the Blind Pig Bar, and somehow they got busted because the owner of the bar didn't have a liquor license. And a riot started, and it just spread around the city. People took advantage of it, like they were burning houses. It was really huge. So Catherine Bigelow, who's the director, decided to direct that movie. And I played the war vet that just got back, and it was my party, and that's how the whole thing started. Now getting that role, it's funny because I remember while we were filming, I think we had a break. There were a couple of people, around me, and it was like, "Yo, Michael, where you from?" A lot of people think I was born here. It's like, "Oh, where you from?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm Nigerian." It's like, "Oh, okay, your parents are Nigerian, right?" "Yeah, but you were born here." I was like, "Nah, I moved here. Like, I think maybe I was 3 years after I moved here." I was like, "Oh, you moved here?" I'm like, "Yeah." "And you're Nigerian? You weren't born?" I'm like, "No." So I think that movie gave me the confidence. Like I said, honestly, I kid you not, man. I thank God for the people in my life, because people constantly say, "Hey, I see something in you." I'm like, "Really?" And so that movie gave me the confidence to really build and believe that, okay, yeah, something's in the works here, because I had auditioned for countless jobs before I got that one. And I'm not going to tell the full story, but I turned that job down 3 times. I said no. But somehow, it still came because it was supposed to be mine, I guess. And then The Prince is Not Respected in his hometown. It's a short film, and I wrote that. And it's about a Nigerian actor who moved to America. I started to understand what it feels like to be Nigerian. You're looking for a job. The pressure from home. People asking you for money, because there's a perception that if you live in America, you're rich.
Yeah.
And then Defending Jacob just came out last year on Apple Plus. It's an Apple exclusive show starring what's his name? Chris Evans and Michelle Dockery, Captain America. And on that show, I played the role of a Detective John Freeman. Now that was another. Well, see, listen, man, you gotta understand this. I was standing next to Captain America. If I say Chris Evans, it doesn't carry that weight. But if I tell you, so it's still it's still that thing. Like, I'm like, somebody wake me up, man. Like, this is surreal. So yeah, I did that, and honestly, that was one of the best feelings one of the best accomplishments that I ever had as an actor. And the thing about being an actor, which sometimes I wonder, if after that job, which maybe 5 years ago, that would have been like my dream, I was like, hey, I want to do more. I was hungry for more. And, it was great because I walked on set, I introduced myself to him. And the thing about being in the business is once you're in front of the camera, everybody, you're respected, and they feel like, hey, you deserve to be here, and we're treating you like you're our peers, like we're all equals here. Let's go to work. But I had butterflies in my stomach, man, like exploding, and I just had to, I couldn't be a fan. I was a colleague. We were there to work, so I couldn't be like, yo, man, Chris Evans, like, you don't even know how I feel right now. So that was that for me. And I recently just worked on something. I can't talk about it, but yeah, that's pretty much
As much as you can say.
the journey, in regards to acting. And so also, let me just say this. When I decided that I wanted to do this full time here, I also realized that I needed to train as an actor, because I told you earlier on that being an actor in Nigeria is way different. And, the skill level, the expertise, and the attention to detail out of this world. And I knew I didn't have that discipline. So I had to study for 3.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to. Yeah. I was going like 4 times a week, late nights, assignments, doing plays, reading books. Yeah. So yeah, I had to do that.
How much would, going back to doing the study of it to where you are now, how much would you rate yourself on how much you've improved as an actor with the skill set?
Oh, Nick, man, mind blowing, because I don't know if you've heard, I don't know if you've heard of this. There's different techniques to acting, right? But the one I studied was called Meisner.
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, okay. Meisner, it's said one of the big definitions for that is the ability to live truthfully under imaginary circumstances. Now, why I say it was really a defining moment for me, and I wouldn't be doing this today if I didn't train as an actor, was as we get older, right? We start to build walls around ourselves. We start to know the parts of ourselves that we don't want people to see. If I smile, people will be more accepting. If people find out that, I have this chipped tooth, they probably won't, we have all these defense mechanisms we build.
Yeah.
So if I come to you now, there's very little I'm going to reveal about myself, right? Because I don't trust you. I'm like, oh my God. But when you get to front of the camera, people want to see real life. I mean, I don't know if you've watched movies where you connect to the story and it reminds you of something that happened or something you experienced. Yeah. So doing that training broke all those walls for me, man. I kid you not. And, after that started to happen, the beautiful thing about that is I'm still learning. It's never a destination. I'm still watching and learning. But if I didn't train for 3.5 years, I will fail so woefully, bro. Like I would have no skill or confidence to stand and deliver. So that helped me. And the beauty about it is, it helped me as a human being, not even an actor.
Yeah, okay.
It helped me as I'm more like open to life. I'm more. When I watch films now, I just don't watch it for entertainment, and I hate that it's starting to happen to me now. I'm critiquing, I'm asking questions, I'm feeling, I'm crying, I'm angry. There's certain shows I just turn off because they affect me so much, and I'm like, this is not helping me. I can't watch it, But yeah, so that's what being an actor has helped me, overcome as a person. And the funny thing is, even my wife, I'll tell you this, right? At some point, it was a pressure financially, right? To be taking classes and, with the bills in the house and everything. And so I think after my first year, I told my wife, I was like, honey, I don't think we can do this anymore. I just feel like it's not helping us. I'm just doing this class. There's no jobs coming, And my wife looks me in the eye. She said, you're not going to stop, man. I see something in you. Something is changing and I want you to continue. So another junction of my life where somebody's seeing something that I'm not seeing, right? So my wife encouraged me to just keep going, and yeah, that's the experience of being an actor for me so far. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thanks. That's great. And
thank you.
My personal opinion, I believe very authentic and genuine, and it shines through in the way you articulate, and the way you speak, and just your personality. So yeah, man. I think.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
I think you got really good things coming in the future too.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you.
Pleasure, man. Tell me about your podcast that you're doing.
Oh yeah, the Road to the City podcast. Oh man, I think the theme here is people in my life who constantly point out, hey, Michael, you got something to do, or you have a talent or a gift. So when I got married, my wife would say to me, hey, you should be on radio, or you should start a podcast. But I'm thinking, like, who's going to want to listen to like an up and coming actor, like a struggling actor? I'm going to wait till I'm famous to start a podcast. So I've had people say, man, you've got a great voice, you've got a great presence, and this is the thing, right? I love talking to people. I can meet a stranger, right? And people would be asking, "Oh, did you guys grow up together?" I'm like, "No, I just met him on a bus." That's how much I love talking to people, and I find that. So people are like, "Oh, you just started a podcast," and I just kept saying, "No, I was willing to be in that hit movie, win awards," and then I felt like that would give me the cachet for people to be like, "Oh, that's the guy from that movie, the Grammy or Academy Award winner. He has a podcast," you know.
Yeah.
But man, in 2019, I had just booked one of the biggest roles of my life.
Yeah.
2 weeks before I filmed, I went out to play basketball and I ruptured my Achilles tendon. It was a complete rupture. I had to have surgery. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to stand. Let's just start with that. and it was so painful because one of the producers had called me and was like, "Yo, Michael, we just got this great costume for you from the UK. We just can't wait for you to come try it out." You know, like, and man, that was the day before I had my surgery.
Oh, no.
And that was a movie with Ryan Reynolds. Oh my God, bro. That would have been like the biggest movie that I ever did, you know? So I called my agent. I'm like, "Hey, I don't think I can do this, man. I think you need to call them." And, you know, and the funny thing about that was, well, I won't say it wasn't funny, but the sad thing about that was I had to run with guns. It was a long scene. There was guns and like stunts, and there was no way I was going to do that. So my agent called them and they was like, "Oh, they're sorry. They have to find someone else." So here I am at home with a cast on. And then my wife is like, "Hey, you can start your podcast now."
There you go.
Listen, so I found this studio that I was going to, and I couldn't drive. So I'll get an Uber, and I'll scoot down the stairs, get in the Uber. Like, you know, I have my crutches. I'll go to the studio, and I tell you, Nick, I didn't know I didn't know anything about starting a podcast. All I knew was I could talk to people, and I would just go into that studio, hit record, and start talking. And I would meet people in the studio. I'm like, "Do you want to be on my podcast?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." And what that taught me was, if I had like tried to think too much about starting that podcast, I never would have started.
Right.
So what do I mean by that? If I knew what my podcast was about, I had like 5 things I wanted to ask, and this is where the podcast is going. All I had was the name that my wife gave me. You know? So I was going in, but with every recording, I would go on and be like, this didn't work. That didn't work. I think I need a new mic now. I would research mics. I would buy mics. I would return them. You know, and I started doing it over and over again. And as I talked to people and as I recorded, I started to understand what my podcast was about. Now, Road to the City is a metaphor for the road to the city, which is, I can liken that to, we're all on a journey, right? And we're all looking for this destination, or we want to go from point A to B. We want to learn what it feels like to go from A to Z or 1 to 10. And my podcast is, let's talk about this journey to your city. So I try to bring people in and we talk about their process of what they've been through, what they're working on, what they learned from that experience. Not just so we could get to the destination, because I don't want to ever get to a spot and be like, "I'm not moving anymore. This is my destination. It's my final stop." But it's an ongoing conversation about everybody's journey. I share my personal stories on that podcast, and you know, and that's how it started, bro. Like, and I'm still learning, like I say, you know. So yeah, that's what the podcast is about.
That's amazing, man. That's awesome.
Thank you, Nick.
Doing well. You play the guitar. Talk to me about that, I believe.
Oh, well, the guitar. I wish I played it even more than I do right now. I love that instrument. I tried drums, piano, but somehow I just fell in love with the melody of the guitar. And now with 3 kids, oh man, I barely even have time. But there's something about the guitar. I wish I started when I was younger. But whenever I pick up the guitar, it helps me calm down. I'm not in a rush. the thing about my guitar journey is I teach myself how to play. Yeah. So I go on YouTube, you know. I'm thinking I should invest in some kind of class, because what I learned about playing an instrument is if you sit for 5 minutes with a professional guitar player, you will learn a skill that would have taken you 6 months in 5 minutes. Because they say, no, you're doing this wrong. Here's this chord, this is the transition, and boom, you unlock something new. So that's my journey. I get stuck for months, and then from countless hours of playing, boom, something happens, you know. And I write songs. So I just sit down, I write melodies, lyrics, and you know, that's my guitar journey.
Man, you're really
Oh man.
actor.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I'm trying, bro.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
What else are you working on in regards to movies or TV shows or anything like that on that side of things? Is there any upcoming in the works?
So I just filmed something 2 weeks ago, and that's coming out sometime maybe in the summer or fall. And I just teamed up with a couple of friends. We had made my short film together a little over 2 years ago, and we're working on a new project. We're thinking of making that short film a feature film, or we have a different concept we're working on. So I have a friend who wants to partner with us. You know, he believes we have something with that short film that we made. So we're still in the works, and that's something we're doing right now. And I'm still auditioning like crazy, because ever since the pandemic happened, all I have to do now is just stay at home, put on the lights and camera, and record my auditions. So I've been auditioning for casting directors in Los Angeles, in New York, and in Boston. So that's pretty much all that's been that's happening currently right now.
How has the pandemic affected the way that they shoot movies now? So, for example, if you were to get a role that you auditioned for, would they still have the set? Like, would it be business as usual by having the set?
Oh no! Okay. So that's a very great question. So first of all, the movie that I did 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah. I had to get tested.
Wow. Okay.
Twice to go for my fitting. Yeah. So 2 days before I went in for my costume, I got tested. The day of, when I walked into the costume department, I had to get a rapid test done. And I had to test negative for every stage, you know. Now, after that, I had to get 2 more tests to quarantine in the hotel for 10 days.
Wow. That's insane.
For 10 days, right? And I had random tests going on. And those 10 days, I can't see anyone. I can't go out. I can only order like groceries online. But I was getting tested every 2 or 3 days, and I had to test negative like every time I got tested leading up until the day I filmed. Now on set, that's a different ball game. We have 3 different zones: the yellow, the green, and the red zone. So you have everyone maxed up in the green, and people in the green can go to the yellow. So they have all these markers around, and the red zone are where the talents would be with no mask. So you can't come into the red zone from the green or yellow. So it's strategic right now. And then not only that, I had to take a course online to educate myself on the etiquettes of just being in quarantine. I'm working on a big production, and usually you could just sit down with people and have meals and chit chat, but you can't do that anymore. You have to stay like 6 feet apart. You can't. It used to be like a buffet setting to eat. Now that your food comes pre-packed, So that's but for every production is different. So for every job that you go to, they'll have their own set of rules. But I think they're like guidelines, they have to follow, like COVID guidelines that they have to follow to keep everyone safe and protected. And you can't. One of the things that I learned is you just can't go in and just talk about you just can't talk about COVID like it was some fiction, especially if you don't have it, because it's affected people in different ways. And you want to be sensitive to someone might have lost a loved one, So yeah, that's what we're working with now. And just going back to your question also, I think we've lost a lot of opportunities also because there's a lot financially that has to go through for you to be able to keep people in quarantine, pay them. So a lot of people just don't have that budget. Like for the indie filmmakers, you know, the short filmmakers, it's going to be tough for them to really get their movies out.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine. It's tough
Yeah.
times we're in that way.
Yeah.
So, what are your hobbies and passions outside of everything you do? Bars, playing the guitar, like what do you like to do in your downtime?
Downtime? Oh, I play video games.
Okay, cool.
I was trying to think of what else I do. I play. I just got a PlayStation 5, and I'm a big soccer fan, so I play FIFA. Man, that's pretty much what I do. When my kids are in bed, everyone's like, you know, we're done for the day. Everyone's sleeping, man. I just bring out my FIFA and I play.
Yeah, man. Relaxes you, huh?
Yeah, it does, man. It does. Trust me, man.
Yeah, I get it. What's your favorite food? Where do you like to go to eat? Yeah.
Woo! I'm the worst person to ask that question. I'm not an adventurous eater. I would eat, like if I come to your house, I'm not going to be picky about what I want to eat. And I grew up hungry, man. So I would eat anything that I got. I went to a boarding school in Nigeria, and that really taught me to just eat whatever you have in front of you. And I say I'm not an adventurous eater because, honestly, without fail, when I go to a restaurant and I try something new, I always hate it.
Yeah. Okay.
So I just go straight burgers and fries. Like that's me. Pasta and meatballs and pasta. Yeah, I know that. I'm just gonna eat that. That's me. So yeah, I don't have any favorite food, man. Anything that tastes good to me, I'll eat it.
Cool. Hey, how do you see Nigeria? I'm not getting too political here. Position going
Yeah.
into the future, and what's your opinion on Nigeria handling the COVID pandemic as well?
Oh, that's a very good question because I was born in Nigeria and I've lived there, right? I know that some people have to go out every day to be able to provide for their family.
All right.
A large population of Nigerians don't have savings. So if they don't work, they don't eat. Like I'm telling you, like there's like remote villages where there's really no form of what's the word? There's no industry. People go to really farm for their food and like bring it home. So that's tough for a lot of people to adapt to. And then I think, you know, just talking to people, there's a large population of Nigerians also that really, they just want to go out. They're not trying to social distance and, you know, wear their mask. And I understand because, like I said, they really have to go out and, you know, fend for themselves. If they stay home, kids will suffer, you know what I mean? And I feel like Nigeria, we're really in a process of an overhaul in terms of politically. We're trying to restructure a lot of things. Like I said, we've suffered from a lot of bad governance over the past years, and that's affected how the country progresses economically. So the pandemic really hit us hard. I talk to people, you know, and the funny thing is, even if people test positive, you know, people still walk around like, you know what, to get tested is expensive.
Wow.
You know, so it's affecting the world, you know, differently. You know, so I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah, man, and just think, you know, and one thing I'll say also is, you know, I told you earlier on, you know, speaking about Nigeria, is I love Nigeria so much. I got used to not really expecting much in terms of power. I lose power or clean water, right? Until I lived here in America, I understand that there's certain things that are basic that the government will provide for you. You know what I mean? Like, so education, power, water, healthcare. I didn't have insurance growing up. Insure what? Like, I mean, I was sick. I just go to the chemist and self-medicate. I got malaria. What drugs do you have? You know? So having lived in America now, I'm like, oh my God, like we didn't, like there's a lack of structure on so many levels, you know, so I constantly go back and forth, you know, just comparing. And don't get me wrong, there's things that I don't like in America also that I love in Nigeria, you know, but having experienced these two worlds. And I'll say this, right, to your listeners, you need to travel You need to travel. It'll open you up. It'll educate you. You need to leave your country, even if it's for a week. And one thing I wish I did was even travel within Nigeria. Nigeria is so blessed with so many cultural differences, languages, foods, and I wish I had traveled even around Nigeria myself. You know, it will open you up. Trust me, man. It will.
Where internationally have you traveled? Like, bar, obviously, Nigeria, United States.
Nigeria. You're asking specifically about Nigeria?
Where in the world have you traveled?
Oh, I've lived in India. I've traveled to Kenya. I've been to Trinity. Sao Tome. I've been to Gabon. I've been to the UK. Not a lot. I haven't traveled a lot. And there's another thing. Travel before you start having kids. Yo, like I live in Boston right now, but I lived in Atlanta for 6 months. Honestly, going from Boston to Atlanta is like going to a different country. I am telling you, the weather, the people, sense of community. There's certain parts of Atlanta that I was driving through and I felt like I was in Nigeria. Because of the sun, man, it was so hot, you know? Yeah.
If you were 18 again, what would you change if you could?
If I do what?
If you were 18 again?
18 again?
Something, yeah.
Oh, man.
What would you change?
I wouldn't second guess myself.
Sure.
I wouldn't second guess. And I know it's so cliche to say, and I guess you only learn that because you've lived it, right? But if there's anyone listening, if you're 18 and younger, take risks now, man. Like the beauty, and this is the thing. I think I love education, but the pass and fail system in education scares people a lot. And we take that structure of fail and pass and not doing well and being told you got an F for this and F for that. And then we come to life and we're afraid to hear people say, oh, you're not good at this or you failed. And this is something I always consider what people think of me. I kid you not, what will they think? Bro, I compare myself, and that's a killer of dreams. If you're 18 and younger, you have room to make mistakes. You have room to grow, man. I'm in my late 30s now, and man, I'm still taking risks. That's the beauty. That's the thing. You know what? I used to think, looking at adults growing up as a kid, right? I used to think, when you're 40, you have life figured out. No more pain, no more mistakes. And man, I'm 38 now, man, and I'm still asking questions. I'm still learning. Right. You know, so don't second guess yourself. You're not too young, you're not too old if you're older than 18. But man, make mistakes, practice, go out, express yourself.
Yeah, man, that's great advice. And
yeah.
You know, we're going to keep learning as we grow, right? Till we die, man. You're not learning, you're not growing, really.
True.
Where does Michael see himself in 10 years from now with everything you're working on?
You know what I've learned? If you had asked me 5 years ago, right? Or let's go back to Nigeria. Let me maybe say 2 months before I met my wife, right? If you had asked me, what's your 5-year plan? If I'd given you my 5-year plan, I would have failed, bro. You know why? Because I've attained way more than I could imagine or even think. Yeah. But don't forget, our mind works in ways where we dream about only what we can see, feel, and touch. If you had come to me in Nigeria, right? I met my wife in 2009. If you had come to me in Nigeria in 2008 and you say, well, Michael, you know what? I think you're going to be in a movie in America with Chris Evans in about maybe 10 to 12 years. First of all, I'll say, you know what? I want to be in a movie with him tomorrow. And if it's not happening tomorrow, then it's not real. But wait, I have to wait for 12 years for this to happen? I have a 5-year plan. And that 5-year plan is I'm going to get married to a Nigerian woman. I'm going to get a job as an actor in Nigeria. I'm going to have kids in Nigeria. We're going to build a family in Nigeria. But guess what? My future was in America. My future was building a family here, which I couldn't even think about it. Right. I have so many dreams, but I've noticed that with setting those limits, with just hoping to see myself somewhere. And I know it sounds kind of like, I know people are so big on setting goals. What I do is I just write down what I want to do on a weekly basis, daily basis, and I make sure I accomplish those things, because my life has taught me that I've attained way more than I could think or imagine, and it just keeps happening, bro. It just keeps blowing me away. So I don't know if I answered your question, but well, let me just make it simple. I would love to be an Academy Award winner. I would love to be in a movie with Denzel Washington, Jamie Foxx. I'd love to be in a movie with Tom Hanks. Those are things. I guess I can dream now because of my experience. But like I said, life has taught me that your dreams are only what you think of. There's so much more out there that you just got to open yourself to. I don't know if I'm making sense, but
No, that makes complete sense. And I believe you're not far off doing movies with these actors soon either. So the way you're headed on your trajectory in life, so
yeah.
Michael, thanks for coming on my podcast. I really appreciate it.
Oh, Nick, thank you very much for having me, man. Thank you for you found me on what's it called, Matchmaker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity, man, to be able to share a platform and be a guest on your show. And you know what I like about doing podcasts also is when you ask questions, you help me remember things that I've been through, and I'm able to put things in context to encourage myself or to remind myself, because sometimes you get into a funk and you forget that you've overcome a lot. And when I have conversations like this, and you guys ask me questions that I don't even know you're going to ask me, and I'm forced to go back and think. So after this podcast, I'll probably go home and think, yeah, he asked me like what it felt like to grow up in Nigeria. Oh, that's true. This happened and that happened. So I just want to thank you for that opportunity. Thank you.
All right, yeah, and I really sincerely wish everything amazing happens to you from now and into the future, all the stuff you're working on, and yeah, man, wish you nothing but blessings.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Nice, man. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.